did this one, traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight, with a pack in hand and a story that bites. Old paper, new spark, name on the card, from basement deals to a full-on start. Collected and connected, collected and connected, trading the truth.
Hey, what's up? Jonathan Fink, Sports Card Collectors Club, and this is the Card Life Chronicles Hobby Update. We're going to go live tonight with a chat and the whole thing. We're going to cover a lot of topics, and we'll get started at midnight on the Eastern Time, 11 o'clock in the Midwest. So we'll let some people, give everyone a few minutes to join the chat, and then we'll get started. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to have fun. All right, 13 minutes to go. Thanks for joining us. We got 5 people in the chat so far. Everyone, welcome. Hobby update coming at you. See you soon. Get ready. All right, guys. Everyone, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Thanks for your patience. We got 7 people to start. That's awesome. It's always wild how I do these spontaneous Car Life Chronicle sessions and starts with a half dozen people, and by the time it's over, it could be in the thousands. So thank you, and I'm excited for the journey. This will not be a 2 or 3 hour marathon. I don't think this is a hobby update. This should be 30 minutes to an hour. But I can't rule out a Car Life Chronicles pack opening round 3 later tonight if we're all up for it and if I have the energy, and we'll do another round of 2026 Topps Chrome basketball update. So we have 5 more minutes to go. I promised everyone we would start at midnight. So in the meantime, I have some entertainment for us to go. Let's open up a couple packs of my favorite non-sports card product, V-Friends Series 2 Topps Chrome. Let's see how we do. Make no mistake how much I love this product. There's the amiable anchovy, the magnanimous Maltese. Ooh, my favorite insert design. We got a hardworking wombat with the manga refractor. The competitive advantage keeps going with steady effort, even when progress isn't visible. Man, that is so true. If you're you're starting out as a young YouTuber, it could be crickets for a while until you start getting some traction. I've been there. And then the wily wild boar. So yes, we're gonna do a hobby update. We'll talk about one of my favorite YouTubers and what's going on there. We'll talk about update on the sports card market from a financial price perspective. Hold on, where'd those packs go? Oh yeah. We'll talk about the hobby market from a participation community perspective, right? I had a card show today that I went to in Lee Summit, Missouri. My favorite one that they have a few times a year, and I'll show you all my pickups. And that was kind of like the inspiration for the session, is to show you my pickups today and talk about the hobby. And then I surprised you with a couple of pack openings too. That was the Arbitraging Admirable. Here's the Mint Mink. Here we got a Chalk Enamored Emu. Let's read today's lesson. Find and follow your passions. Enamored Emu teaches that you should try all kinds of things, and when something truly matters to you, giving it your full heart can take you further than you can have ever imagined. And a Hungry Hammerhead. All right, 3 minutes to go. We'll keep ripping packs till we get started. But already, I just want to say thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you. Here's the Boss Bobcat, the Perspective Pigeon, a Spiffy Salmon with the yellow refractor, and a Zestful Zebra. Let's read that one. Earns its stripes by bringing contagious energy to every dazzle. Cute. Caring Camel, Prudent Polar Bear, Sufficient Shrimp, Brilliant Barb. Let's read that. Glides through the depths of life with creativity, vision, and insight. Cool. All right. Hobby update begins in 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I appreciate it. All right, one more pack. Then we'll get started. So far, those are 2 bust packs in a row. Consistent Cougar, Sharing Squirrel, Empathy Elephant, Polished Poodle. Knows the only way to get polished is to start and keep learning. Yep, that's true. All right, one more pack to go before we get started. So FYI, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, and what's so crazy about the internet is mind-blowing. We're live all over the world. It's really cool. So even though it's late on the East Coast, it's not late on the West Coast, and it's probably morning in Japan, right? It's wild. A tenacious termite. So hello everyone who's watching in Singapore and in South Korea. Forthright flamingo, tranquil toad, balanced beetle. Let's read it. Knows that life isn't about red or blue, it's about purple. That's a very subtle political comment. Red or blue, Republican, Democrat, purple somewhere in the middle. I like that. Well done. All right, it is midnight, so let's get started with the hobby update. So what inspired me to do the hobby update was I got to go to a trade show for the first time, and actually for a couple of months. Kansas City, in my opinion, has a very vibrant, really, really good trade show community. So much so that the last couple of weeks have been really dead because we've had nationally the National Trade Show in Chicago, and then 2 weeks prior we had the Fanatics Fest, and a lot of the vendors that attend these local shows, they're setting up booths at those shows. So it just makes sense to not have some stuff going on at the same time. So it's been quiet around here. And so this was the first big show. Now Kansas City has, I'd say, a half dozen shows that kind of circulate, and they're all different shapes and sizes. The one I went to today at the Knox Pavilion in Lee Summit, Missouri, is my favorite one. It's the biggest one. In fact, it's so big that they actually can charge a $5 cover fee just to enter, and it's worth it. I pay it every time gladly because it's such a great show. So we'll get into that. But before we do, after the show, I went for my walk. I go for a walk every day, pretty much. And usually I'm listening to music, or I'll do some do some work related stuff on my phone, or make some phone calls to friends and family, whatever. But today I was doing YouTube sports card stuff, and I came across a video from Professor Sports Card. So kind of like me, my alter ego is Kevin Dempsey. He's the college professor that stars in the fictional novel that I wrote, the Republic Baseball League, right? But he's kind of like my alter ego. Well, Professor Sports Cards is actually not a professor, although he is a high school teacher. But I guess his sports card persona is a professor, and actually I'm a big fan of him. And he's got a really good podcast, and he'll be a guest on my show, episode 11, September 29th. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Professor Sports Cards. And basically today he did a video that he posted where he's like a professor, and he's got this whiteboard, although it's kind of this high-tech chalkboard thing, so you can erase and do colors and stuff like that. And the episode was about whether it's profitable to be a local card shop owner, right? And that's a very interesting topic because to me, the local card shop is the bread and butter. It's the lifeblood of the sports card hobby. It is the epicenter where community can form. And it's important that sports card shops survive and do well. And right now we're seeing a huge influx of corporate sports card shops, and that has a huge influence when it comes to distribution of the product. The sports card market's gone through cycles. In the 1970s into the 80s, there were thousands of card shops, and then when the junk wax era hit, many of them went out of business, and there's been a huge resurgence. In fact, in Professor Sports Card's episode, he's from Vegas, and I actually did a feature. I was in Vegas a few weeks ago for the Summer League Top Shot market, and during my interviews with Paulie, we talked about the local market in Vegas because there's like 7 or 8 shops within a 15-minute radius. And I thought, only a place like Las Vegas can a place like that survive, because lots of tourists are coming in with money. They're there to have fun. They want a lot of money. They want to spend it. And so it's a great place to spend some money. That is at a card shop where you can buy a Mickey Mantle and this and that, whatever. So midnight at Fink Oasis. Yeah, that's what we can get into that actually. I'll explain why midnight is such a good time for me to do these episodes. Right, the house is quiet, although my dog will inevitably come to interrupt to go potty. Sooner or later. My son's home for the summer, but he's either out or it's he's going to sleep by now or whatever. My wife is definitely asleep, so hanging out with her and spending time with her is not an issue. And as you know, I spent the last 10 years writing books hardcore. And I spent a lot of my late nights, abusing coffee and writing throughout the night. So even though right now I'm slowing it down, right now I'm just editing and improving a book that I wrote during the pandemic called The Basketball Gods Are Real. And I recently finished writing The Pokemon Gods Are Real. So I'm in a kind of a slow phase of my writing where when I'm actually writing, it's like very time consuming. Right now I'm focusing more on just editing these 2 books and getting them out, and that's less time consuming. I do it more, in a certain routine, and so I have more free time to do stuff like this because this is the time that I would have been writing. But if I'm awake, I have energy. Think about it. All the Major League Baseball games are over by now. It's Saturday night. It's not even Saturday Night Live anyway, so it's like it's the perfect timing. All the other rippers like Run to Good Life. I love watching his videos. He's great. I love to have him on my podcast soon. But most of those rippers are people are watching because they have a financial investment. They've joined their break. And they run from 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. There's one guy who I like who is a big Pokemon ripper, but the same thing. By the time you get to midnight, those things end. But people are still awake, especially it depends on where you are. Some people are night birds, some people it's just not time for bed yet. And if they still want to be entertained and they love sports cards, they want to watch something. And so the timing of my show, doing these late at night is kind of perfect because it works well for me. But I think it also works well for the community because all the other stuff that I wouldn't want to compete with, they're now done with their stuff. And unless you're like watching Fanatics Live or some kind of whatnot stuff, if you're focused on traditional YouTube or Twitter, everything else is recorded and this is live, which is fun. So we have a live chat. So speaking of the chat, shout out to ForceCom3236. He or she writes, Damian Lillard. Not sure what that was about. Maybe Paulie posted a question. James Pooh Bear writes, best 3-point shooter besides Curry. I'll go with Jamal Murray. Volume shooting and way over 40%. Serious weapon. So I missed the original question. I was too busy yapping. But I love that the chat is active. That's awesome. That's beautiful. It's about community. It's not all about what I have to say. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say too. So shout out to the chat. Grateful for you to join me. By the way, not an endorsement. Tonight it's once again Stewart's Black Cherry Soda. Okay, so anyway, Professional Sports Cards video. I want to talk about that because there's a lot more card shops opening up. In Kansas City, we are blessed. We have like 3 major ones in our local area. There's a couple, definitely a few more in the periphery. And we also have a lot of big box stores like Best Buy and Targets and Walmarts. And we have in Leawood, Kansas, where I live, we actually have a Dick's House of Sports, which has a brand new, huge sports card selection. And they're getting like massive distribution, like way more than anyone else. Paulie writes, best 3-point shooter active in the league besides Steph Curry. Oh, that's the question. Yeah, chat. Damian Lillard was one of the answers. That's cool. Who else? Oh, snap. Cartpig says, oh, snap. Cartpigs, who do you think the best 3-point shooter is in the league right now besides Steph Curry? That's a great question, Paulie. Let me think about who I would say that is. I mean, I'm sure if you ask ChatGPT, you could probably pull up the stats and look at the percentages. But I'm going to surprise you. I'd say it's one of the big centers right now. I'm going to go with like Wemby or Cat. The game has changed. Right now I'm playing on Xbox. I'm doing a franchise, dynasty with the Kansas City Kings and the Lost franchises where I bring back all the old teams. I'm starting in 1983. And when the announcers are making comments, they're like, we've only had the 3-point line for 3 years so far. And I built my team, by the way, to like be draining threes. Like I got John Stunfeld at small forward. I got Dale Ellis at shooting forward. So we've just been draining threes and it's been awesome. But none of the teams I'm playing, they shoot threes because they're all been programmed to do the old school stuff. Carpet goes with Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Steph Curry has, he's changed the game. I hope he's still got a couple more years left in him. But it's not just him who can shoot threes now. Now you have centers shooting threes, and I think that has totally changed the dynamics of how NBA teams, run offenses and play defense. It's awesome like that. Yeah. So anyway, back to Professor Sports Cards real quick. In that video, it talks about like roughly, what it's going to cost to run a shop. And the new trend is that these card shops are also adding sections of the shop to do live breaking, right? And so breaking is controversial. Some love it, some hate it, but the ones that are doing it are making a lot of money, and it's really helping these card shops, especially the ones that are not getting distribution, to make a lot of money. But the bigger issue is, do you even have to own a brick and mortar shop to be in this business, to be in the sports card? Oh, Con Knuckle. Michael Jordan is not playing anymore, Garrison Lyons. It's got to be active players. Con Knuckle, actually, if you look at the raw numbers, Luke Kennard, that's another one. That's a great suggestion. He's only a rookie, so his sample size is small. But Knuppel has been awesome. I pulled a bunch of his rookie cards in our last couple of rip sessions. Anyway, I remember when Mojo Sports, he's a huge YouTuber. He was going to open up a card shop. He couldn't. He wanted to do it in LA, and he couldn't find a good situation because you have to deal with overhead. You got to deal with insurance, security. You got to pay for the employees. You got to deal with labor laws. And California rent, where he wanted to live in LA, was too expensive. But now he's just doing trade shows, and then it's kind of like a traveling circus situation. But you can make a lot of money doing trade shows. It's just not, every week is somewhere different. It's not when you're in the same place. So it's not great if you're a family guy, but it works. But I think the point is that there's money to be made in the sports card hobby as a local trade shop, local card shop. And if you love what you do, if you love sports cards and you don't love your 9-to-5 job, it's something to look into. But I also think you should look into just doing it out of your house and just running it through eBay, because you can run a very similar business. And yeah, there's some shipping costs involved in that respect, but to remove all your overhead and all the extra costs that come with running a physical shop, especially in today's day and age, you have to deal with security. I think you can be an entrepreneur and just do it from home. So I think I would just give it some thought. And by the way, it's really easy to do these days. You can go to LegalZoom.com and create an LLC and set up your own business for cheap, and anyone can become an entrepreneur. And to do it the right way, file your taxes and make it a side hustle. Don't quit your day job just yet. But if you love this hobby enough, you can do it. And I know a lot of the community that comes from Paulie and Connecting, they love basketball, and basketball, the growth is huge for sports cards. For basketball, it's still, I think, scratching just the surface because it's such a global game. So yeah, sky's the limit. Jason Tatum, James Harden, those are good suggestions, guys. Oh yes, thanks for the great starting advice. Yeah, and by the way, it's like and by the way, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's been so much more in the Pokemon space, but a lot of card shops around the country are getting broken into because the cards are so valuable, and so it becomes such a pain in the ass and very stressful. If you're doing it from your home, no one knows your location. No one knows going to come rob you. When you have a location, there was a place in Vegas. I won't even mention the card store's name. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I came in. I did like one of those like, hey, let's check out this sports card. And I was filming it, and the guy was like, hey, do you mind erasing that video, because they had this giant safe in the center of the store. I'm like, well, I'll delete it, but what's the problem? He's like, well, listen, we don't want a video of our safe there. We already had break-in problems. I'm like, wait, because people can come by and they can see your giant safe. I'm like, why don't you put the safe behind in the back room? He's like, well, the safe is too big. I'm like, well, then why don't you just buy a smaller safe, bro? Like, what are you doing? So he's got this. I thought the giant safe was for show, because Tom Brady's card vault, that's what they had. They had this shtick with this giant vault, and inside the vault is not sports cards, it's more memorabilia. It's helmets and jerseys and whatever. So I actually deleted the video, and I wound up buying some fun stuff from those guys, but just totally insane that they didn't think it through and they didn't get a small enough safe. But the point is, if you're doing it from your home, you still can get insurance, by the way. You also can keep your cards at like a bank, say deposit box, your most expensive stuff if you had to. But most people can just keep their stuff in their home in a safe, and your stuff will be fine. But the point is, starting small from your home and making sure you love it and successful, and then moving into physical space, that's also something to do. I mean, a lot of people, like I know here in Leawood, there's a place called Art of Sports, and it's run by a father and son. And it was just like the father's retired, the son needed a career that he was passionate about, and they've built a really nice business. And if you love your family and to run a family business, it's really special to be able to share that with other people. Where if you run it from your house, it can kind of get get lonely. Low risk, so dumb. Which is so dumb. Starting a physical store. Yeah, it's just high risk. It's just high risk, and there's lots of overhead long before you start making any money. And right now, remember, the sports card and non-sports card market is booming. So a lot of sports card shops are making money because their inventory keeps rising in value, and they're selling it with aftermarket prices. And this can't last forever. I've been cautioning people in several videos talking about how all economics go through cycles. And if you remember, during the pandemic, prices ramped up like a hockey stick, and then they crashed. And it took many, many years for it to build up again. And now we've hit another new peak. And it's not just the GOATs. I could show you a Ted Williams card, a Carmelo Anthony card where the prices just look like they're going straight up. So now's a good time to be taking profits in some of your sport. If you're into really investing and you have a lot of singles, don't sell things that you'll regret selling because seller's remorse is awful. But take profits on things that you wouldn't be upset about if you sold, or something that you actually could sell today and maybe buy back cheaper later, the same as that card. James Harden rules. Yeah, John Barnes. Harden is so controversial, dude. Right? I mean, like, people love him or they hate him, but no doubt he can hoop it up. That's for sure. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So I just thought, if you go check out Professional Sports Cards, watch that video if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur and getting into this business, because it talks about, what's it going to cost. And it's rough numbers, but I think it's a very valuable 15 minutes of your time if you're curious about getting into the hobby. And by the way, I'm excited for him because he'll be a guest on my show, my flagship sports card Collectors Club podcast, which is 7 p.m. every other Tuesday night on Paulie's Collecting and Connecting Network, which has been rebranded, by the way, which is awesome. I love it. With the next Barstool, it's freaking awesome. Yeah, James Harden debate is going hardcore in the chat. That's fine. Keep it up. Enjoy that stuff, guys. The chat doesn't have to be about what I'm talking about. The chat can be about whatever you guys want to talk about, because what I love about this, doing it live, and this is true for next Tuesday night, is my Rip Sessions episode, which is 9 o'clock every other Tuesday. And that's like a local card shop, virtually. Everyone at a card table. Anyone can come join us and open packs with us. Just DM me. I'll send you the link, and you can come join. In episode 1, we had Levi Dombrowski from big Oklahoma City Top Shop guy, and we had a great time. It was so much fun. So hopefully we can get a good turnout again. So yeah, and the chat was a big part of that episode. So I wanted to do these things live because I wanted to help do my part in giving people a platform to share community. I know that there's Discords out there and all that shit, but this is live, so it's really a little extra special. So yeah, so I can get my hobby update done and provide a platform to share with you guys, and let's thank Paulie, because he provided the platform to me for me to share it with all of you. Speaking of which, huge thank you to the community and to the chat and to Paulie, because it was Paulie who first invited me to do a podcast with Sports Card Collectors Club, and then we were in Vegas, and he was like, you should do more stuff with us, and now I'm so active. I'm like special guest on the High Hard one, which is tomorrow night. I think it's 7 p.m. So check that out. It's also on the Buzzer Network, and of course, Collecting and Connecting. And then I'm also going to be a guest appearing on a Pokemon new podcast that's launching on his network, and he's the master producer. He probably is doing an amazing job. And so anyway, that's when I realized, all right, I can do more with you guys. And so I've been more of a guest host on those. But then I realized I could do Rip Sessions, which is not really about me. It's just me being a host. Hopefully that's more about the community just taking over the show. And then the Car Life Chronicles, that was my I used to have a pack opening series that I used to do, and I did over 1,000 pack openings. But they would be on my makeshift camera, and it wasn't done properly with an intro and all that stuff. And I thought, you know what, let me do those live. And that's when I created the Car Life Chronicles. And so one time I did a 3-hour V Friends Car Life Chronicles episode, and we went. And I think we had, I forget now, I think we had like 2,000 people, I think, something like that. It was amazing with a lot of people. From like 2 to 3 in the morning, that's when the number like jumped even higher. Then we've done 2 Rip Sessions chasing, Cooper Flag, rookie patch autos. And the first time I did it was on Thursday night, and I went for, I think, 2 hours, and we only had, not that it was only, I shouldn't say only, we had 33 people. I'm grateful for every one of you, whatever the number is. If it's 2 people, it's better than 0. I'm grateful, it's fun, whatever it is. I'm still new at this, and so I don't expect anything. However, we did a session last night, and we got to like, almost 3,000 people, and it was a 3-hour marathon, and I did reload today. So after this hobby update, we'll shut it down. We'll end this episode of the hobby update, and we're gonna probably crank it up again. And I'll take it after a 10-15 minute break, and we'll do a live Rip session, because the truth is, and we'll go through it today with the hobby update part of it, the market update, a lot of big chase cards are still up for grabs. And if the sports car gods are with us, and come on, I'm wearing a Patrick Ewing jersey, guys. Come on. Oh, here's my dog. Hold on, time out. We got to take him outside so we don't have an accident. But we're already at 120 people. Thank you so much for joining us. When I get back, we're going to talk about the Rip Sessions. I'm going to show you all the hits from last night. So be right back. Hold on. Let's go potty. Good work. All right, chat. Just for the record, this is now the fourth time my sweet dog Buddy has come and interrupted a stream to tell me he had to go potty. But every time before the stream, I do try to take him out, and sometimes I have taken him out, and he still has come down here because I've done some long streams. And like tonight, he was like dead asleep. So I'm not gonna wake him up. I let him be. I gave him a sweet kiss, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do a live stream, and then so he came down. So I had to take a timeout. So sorry about that. But you know what? That's one of the benefits of doing it live, because yeah, if I was doing it offline and I just recorded, I could just stop, re-record it, whatever. But the live chat keeps going without me. So who knows what you're talking about? You're probably long past 3-point shooting conversation. But anyway, I do want to talk about basketball. All right. Now, I think these are actually all my hits from both nights. Now, I did not have mega success. Very few numbered cards, no autographs. The product was very, very expensive. But in hindsight, I did have a number of hits that will, I think, actually flip pretty well. In my second book for my sports card Collectors Club series called The Flip Life, which comes out in December 1st. It's already done. I've actually been handing out copies locally to like local fans and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different storylines that weave through that book. But one of the things is that I learned how to basically find a target market of people to buy my books, specifically when I wrote the sports card book, because I realized if anyone is buying sports cards, when they buy a Cooper Flag card and they get the envelope from me, if there's an advertisement for my book about sports cards, well, it's like, why wouldn't they would be interested in that book? Of course they would. So I think it's a perfect target marketing. But I also realized that I can then use that for all my other books. And if I rip a box of golf cards and then sell a bunch of rookie cards, whatever, or, Tiger Woods cards, anyone who buys that card who A, loves golf, B, has money to spend on discretionary things like books and sports cards, and so why wouldn't I give them an advertisement for my book, The Golf Gods Are Real? It's like a layup. So how I discovered that strategy and how I used it, and then how I rip wax and write stories about the cards that I pull is really just an excuse to stay in the hobby, basically, just if I keep doing it, but also was a clever way to do kind of guerrilla marketing and target marketing and kind of find people to, who I think would be interested in reading my books, right? So that was what that was all about. And so now that, I'm working on The Basketball Gods Are Real, having lots of inventory of basketball cards is critical, because I want to be able to, find a lot of people who love basketball so much that they're going to want to buy sports cards and then buy a book about sports cards and also about the golf, the Basketball Gods Are Real, because of course my sports card books obviously do a lot of basketball stuff. So anyway, so it's really wild. So the point is, like, the same exact rip session 2 nights in a row. Now I don't know if it was a reflection of sending out the links or maybe more of them got retweeted the second night, but I only had like 33 people the first night. And the second night we had like 3,000. So that was just wild watching, starting with 15 people in the chat and keep watching it continue to grow as the night went on. And, I wasn't sure if it's a function of the fact that, people are enjoying hanging out with me and the chat, or it's a function of it's a very unique product, right? This is the first time that Topps has released rookie debut auto patches for NBA basketball. And of course, this is a very sought after rookie class, Cooper Flag, Con Knuppel, Darren Harper. I mean, it goes on and on. So yeah, and by the way, when we'll do the market update, we'll talk about which of those cards have been hit. We'll talk about which cards have already been sold in the marketplace and what they're going for. But first, let me give you a rundown of all the big, all my favorite pulls from the last 2 nights. Here's a moment in time. Cooper Flag, Clutch Gene, Dylan Harper. Moment in time, VJ. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, obviously. I grew up in New York. I wish Kansas City still had a team like the Kansas City Kings. So I just enjoy basketball as a fan. I love the whole league in its entirety. I'm actually really excited for the Philadelphia fans. They have not won a championship almost as long as it took for the New York Knicks to win a championship. And not that Braun will solve all their problems. In fact, LeBron's a year older. He could be an injury problem. And, of course, we know that Joel Embiid has been an injury problem. And Joel and I think Jaylen Brown have traditionally not gotten along very well, so there could be chemistry issues there. They don't have a deep bench. And yet, their starting 5 with with Maxey and VJ, it looks really, really good. And so I think that the Sixers are going to be a really fun team this year, and I'm excited for the season already. It's going to be awesome. Here's a clutch gene, Con Knuppel, who some in the chat thought was the best three-point shooter after Steph Curry. You know what? I think if you look at his numbers as far as percentage, he might be definitely up there in the top 10, and next year he maybe will prove to be one of the top 5. Here's a Wemby Ray Wave. So the Wemby madness has cooled a bit. Obviously, this is no longer his rookie year. He's now, he feels like almost a veteran at this point. But the inserts like a Ray Wave still have some interest in the marketplace, like on eBay and whatever. So this card will definitely flip. Here's a Jeremiah Fears moment in time. He's like one of the top 10 rookies from last year, I'd say. This is from the first night. This is a Cedric Coward yellow refractor at a 275. You know what? Some people complain about the overproduction of parallels every year. There's more and more parallels, but I think if you actually ask most of the collectors, that they love the parallels. I think they look great, especially the color matches, and I think it's actually really added to the hobby. And it's been a way for them to print more cards while still forcing scarcity. It still creates chase. It still creates interest. Even when you have, because like people complain, like if you can't get your hands on the cards because everyone's scalping them, well then you got to print more, right? But if you print too many, then every pack will have like worthless junk in it, and no one wants that. So it's really hard for companies to find a very fine balance between keeping the product, exciting, and also it's still coveted in the marketplace. It's tricky because without printing too much, because you want to print as much as you can because they want to increase profits. Anyway, Cedric Coward in yellow, that's a really cool looking card. Now this is a different kind of yellow. Now it's interesting. Both of these yellows are at a 275, so their whole like system of parallels is consistent. Although this one is a Ray Wave at a 275, and that it might only be worth $5 in the market, maybe 10 at the most. We'll see. Walter Clayton Jr. Clutch City. This is just a cool insert. It's probably worth $2 or $3, but I just like the design. This one I like it just because it's Luka. That's what's great. It's update. They're updating their Chrome set, and of course everyone knows that Luka got traded from the Dallas Mavericks in a very questionable trade, I must say. But he's looking good in Dodger blue. I was going to say in Laker purple. This was the only numbered card that I pulled from my second session last night, and that was 10 blaster boxes, only one numbered card, no autos. So you could say I definitely got smoked overall, but we'll see. Some of these Cooper flags actually might help me recoup some of it, but you know what? I think at best I'm going to recoup 35, maybe 40% tops on the money that I spent on this stuff, but it's all good, man. It was entertainment, and I did it to please the basketball gods. I'm running a book right now, and I'm doing these podcasts and all that stuff, so I took one for the team. It's all good. And by the way, I still got some more, and there could be a Magic card still waiting, and that can make up for all the bad packs that I've had so far. So I've pulled a lot of this. I think I pulled 3 Dylan Harper rookies last night. Obviously, he was. I don't think he was that coveted when the season started, but he played really well as the season went on. And by the time the playoffs occurred, I mean, he was like already a veteran in the backcourt with Stephen Castle, and I think that Wemby and the Spurs are. You haven't seen the last of them. They'll be in the Western Conference Finals against OKC next year again. I think they'll be even better than last year. Here's a Ray Wave for, speak of the devil, Steph Curry, the best 3-point shooter of all time, a living goat. Here's a Wemby base. It's just a base, but it's Wemby, right? It's like I gotta consider that a hit, I think. Speaking of hits, here's a clutch city of this guy, Cooper Flag. I actually feature Cooper Flag. He gets a chapter in Volume 2, The Flip Life, as a matter of fact. I probably should PC this guy. I don't. This is one of the cards I'll definitely flip that will help me kind of recoup my cost for buying all these packs. Kevin Durant, I'm not sure why he deserves to be, I just love Kevin Durant. I think he's had a prolific career. He's been a classic journeyman. He's played for so many teams, and he's been one of the highest scorers of all time. I don't think this card will have that much value, except that it's a Ray Wave, maybe $1 or $2, but somehow I thought it was worthy of being tried to flip on eBay. The red, white, and blue has been one of the more favorite parallels this year amongst the community. Top started making these, I think, last year in last year's set. So here's a Jaylen Brown. Obviously, Jaylen Brown just got traded to the Sixers, so it's always disappointing. It's ironic it's an update set, but not updated enough because Jaylen Brown is now with the Sixers. But hopefully someone in Boston will still want that card. Here's a Kawhi Leonard Clutch City. Interesting how the Clutch City insert, it's not just the rookie cards, it's all kind of players. Obviously, Leonard has had a couple of really big moments in his career. Yeah, I thought this one might flip. Kobe White in the red, white, and blue. He's got cool hair. Giannis going to Miami. That's a really big deal. Unfortunately, he was traded in a deal for Tyler Hero. So I think that this card probably won't be worth very much, but it's just a cool design. And I think he'll be awesome in Miami, but I don't think Miami is going to be very, very good. I don't think their team is very deep. I would have wished they found a way to have not traded away Tyler Hero. He's a prolific scorer. And I think him and Giannis on the same team, that could have been something special. Now I think both the Bucks and the Miami, I think they kind of just, they'll both be, average. Another red, white, and blue. Another Ray Wave. So kind of like Wemby, I feel like Steph Curry, he might be popular enough that I put this on sale for 99 cents to flip. Maybe it'll sell for $1. We'll see. Dylan Harper again. I mean, his stock is cannot be higher right now. Anthony Davis, he's become a journeyman, right? He's been on a lot of teams, and I think he'll start a new team again this year, right? He's in Washington. There's the 3-point master again with the clutch gene for Con Knippel. There's the third Dylan Harper. This one is special because it makes me think of Paulie. This is a Jalen Brunson moment in time. Obviously, 53 years since the Knicks and their long-suffering fans won a championship. When Paulie was on my podcast, we talked about how his journey has been as a Knicks fan, right? I mean, so many years of almost so close. John Starks, Patrick Ewing, like Lynn Sanity. It was just, just never got to the promised land. But they finally did, and yeah, it was a team effort, from the coaches to the players. But certainly, without this guy, Jalen Brunson, it wouldn't have happened. Jalen Brunson was Mr. Clutch. This is a Cade Cunningham, just a cool design. I only pulled one of these designs in the entire rip. Speaking of Tyler Hero, it turns out this one actually is. I put this on sale this morning to flip on eBay. This is actually a super short print. Again, Tyler Hero now with the Bucks. We'll see how that works out. Zach Edey, this card's not even worth probably 50 cents. The power player is not a very popular insert, and Zach Edey's not a very coveted player, but he's sentimental to me. I feature Zach Edey in my first sports card book. The first half of that book is me embracing the new age hobby as an investor, and I try to implement the traditional investment techniques that I learned in business school and as a financial advisor over the last 30 years. I have my own financial firm. And so I write about how Warren Buffett would buy sports cards, how would a day trader do it, how would a hedge fund do it, how would a private equity firm do it. And I went really big on Zach Edey because he was a rookie, and so it's kind of like being a speculative private equity firm, investing in a non-public startup company. And I bought 4 of his patch autos out of college, and he sprained his ankle in summer league, and then he sprained his ankle again the first week of the season, and then he wound up getting shut down for most of the year. And he actually made all rookie second team, but financially it was a huge bust. But I still love Zach Edey, and I hope he's going to get healthy because he's a big dude, 7'6", I guess, and it puts a lot of pressure on his ankles. And he's had a recurring ankle problem now, and so hopefully he had enough time to heal properly, and he can have a really good season this year. This guy again, Clutch Gene. All these Cooper flags will help me recoup a lot of my money. I think we'll review this later. I think this one goes for like $20 in the open market, which is cool. Here's Derek Queen. This is just a cool card. I think it's worth like nothing, but I just like the design. I'm a real card geek. I just appreciate the cool inserts. This one literally might be worth 40 cents. It's Dirk, but again, I like these. I've only seen one of these inserts. It'd be really cool if you pull this one for like Cooper flag. That'd be sick. So shout out to the chat. We're now at 569 people. I remember when there was 15 when we got started. This happened, last night, and the next thing I knew, it was 3,000 people. And by the way, I'm trying to put that in perspective. I mean, I know I'm not getting paid for this. It's not like people are showing up to my show to like pay to watch me rip cards and talk about the hobby. But last week I went to see Jesse Wells play at the Uptown Theater, and it was sold out. And it was 2,400 people, and we had like 2,863 people at our Card Life Chronicles rip session last night. And I thought, wow, it's like selling out the Uptown Theater. That's freaking amazing, you know. So thank you for everyone who came and joined me last night. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for everyone who's here tonight for this hobby update. I appreciate it. We'll get to more hobby update stuff in a minute. For now, I'm showing the proceeds from all the rips, my favorite rips from the last couple of nights of rip sessions from the Card Life Chronicles. Here's a Jason Tatum with a no limit insert. This one, the price will come down a little bit, but this card is going for $200. Now that it sounds like a lot, but not when you spent hundreds on the boxes that I did the last two nights. But this one is obviously very coveted, and yeah, that was a big win. This one is not special. In fact, they used Fortune 15 in the baseball chrome, but it's Josh Hart, and look, he's one of those. Doesn't get all the credit like Kat does or Jalen Brunson does or OG Anunoby does the tip in, but it's the role players like Josh Hart that help make championship teams what they are. The guys who are unselfish, the guys who play defense, the guys who don't care if they get the shots taken, the guys who are just happy to contribute. And I think that's because him and Brunson play together in college, so their chemistry is amazing. But all teams at every level, from the 10-year-old kids in travel baseball all the way up to the pro level, team chemistry is everything. And that's one of the reasons why the Knicks were so good this year and will continue to be good, is because they have such amazing team chemistry. There's a moment in time for Con Knuppel. I just love Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce is one of the greatest players to ever play for University of Kansas, and I've been an admirer of Kansas for many, many years. My wife grew up in Kansas, and I live here now, but now my son goes to KU, so now I'm even more fanatical about KU, but I've always admired this guy, and I remember all those years watching him play for KU. He was terrific. Here's a Con Knuppel straight up rookie card. This is unusual because there was rookie cards in Topps Chrome basketball when they first came out. This is the update, and what they did update is his jersey. He's wearing the alternative yellow-orange jersey, as are a lot of the players. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, then I did one random rip. We ripped a box of WWE, and I pulled this auto out of 50 of this guy Noam Dar, which I thought was pretty cool too. So yeah, so that was all the good hits. So again, nothing mega. I mean, look, there's 50 rookie auto patches. I think maybe like 15 have been hit. So there's many still to hit, and we'll get into some of the people that have hit stuff. I met a guy at Dick's Sporting Goods 2 days ago who pulled a Wemby card that's worth $30,000. He already sent it to PSA. I'm like, wait, I thought PSA shut down. He goes, not if you spend $140, it's not. So that's big money. But I guess if it's for a card worth $30,000, it's probably worth it. All right, new black cherry soda. So cheers to everyone. Not an endorsement. Okay, so now the first time we ripped Topps Chrome basketball, like I mentioned, we had 33 people. Like not a huge crowd, but I'm happy for anything, whatever. I was grateful, but 33 people. The next night, we almost hit 3,000, and I don't know if it's a function of that, the popularity of the show is growing, or the fact that Cooper Fleck hasn't gotten hit yet, so people are voring. They want to see if someone's gonna, hit the big card and they get to watch it happen. So that still could happen. But either way, I'm grateful. For me personally, though, I'm obsessed with basketball right now. I've been that way for many months, but especially in the last couple of months since Summer League, because I've been working on Dr. Brown. Oh, by the way, so Paulie, I grew up on Dr. Brown soda. Every deli in New York, every diner in New York, always Dr. Brown, number one. But you know what? You cannot get it in Kansas City. But what's amazing is that our local grocery stores, we have lots of different sections of black cherry, and I've become a connoisseur. Stewart's is my favorite, so if I want to get an endorsement, it'd be Stewart's. If you notice the other night, though, I was drinking IBC black cherry because I think I emptied their shelves. I consumed so much of this stuff, maybe me and others, that they were out of Stewart's, and so IBC is my backup, but my go-to is Stewart's. This is my favorite, except for it's sort of like Steph Curry, right? no question, dude, Dr. Brown is the best, but you can't even get that in the Midwest. So I have to like, it's sort of like asking who's your favorite 3-point shooter after Dr. Brown. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, cheers to Stewart's. Okay, so we're gonna rip some pack later tonight. I hope, unless this hobby update goes too late. But let's talk about the market real quick, because this product is still on the shelves. The prices have not risen in the secondary market. And yet some of the mega chases are still there. But let me give you a couple of examples of stuff that has been hit and what they've been going for, and why. Look, I'm not going to advise anybody to spend money on ripping wax. It's like a totally like crapshoot, whatever. I do it for entertainment purposes only. But for people who are doing it for investments, most products are a total waste of your time and money. Don't do it. Just go buy singles. But if you're gonna do it, try to find the products like VFriends, when like last year Series 1 or this year where it's like very small print runs, right? Or like Topps Chrome Platinum Baseball, smaller print runs, so the probabilities are higher. But this year, with Topps Chrome Update Basketball, they printed 40% less than Topps Chrome Flagship, which was huge, and prices went berserk and demand was off the charts. And there were 300 players in that set. This one's only 200. So it's focused more on the rookies, top rookies, and the big name players and the veterans. And so there's less print run, so better chances, and a third less players. And you have the patches. So even though there's still great stuff in here, you have all the alter ego short prints in here. And I'm not a big fan of the minions, but the minion cards are going for a shit ton. We'll talk about that in a minute. And there's all this still the patches, and like that would be sick to pull a patch, obviously, just for like the sake of doing it. But I don't, you can't assume that's going to happen. In fact, I did hear a conspiracy theory. I wish I should have saved it. I saw it on TikTok. I think it might have been the guys from We the Hobby. I thought they said that someone from Topps was showing the Cooper Flag rookie patch auto at the National or Fanatics Fest, which would be impossible because those boxes would have been shipped from factories beforehand, unless the conspiracy theory is that card is not in anyone's boxes, which would be genius because it's kind of like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Everyone's looking for the golden ticket. But what if they don't put the golden ticket in anyone's chocolate bars? That means people just keep buying and buying and buying and buying and buying because everyone's still looking for the chase card, and the chase card is not even in the product, perhaps. Who knows? I'm not assuming that's happening. I love Topps. Who knows? It was just a conspiracy that I heard. But I hope we pull it tonight. But frankly, I'd be happy pulling any of those patches. And really, I'd be happy pulling anything tonight because I just love basketball, and I'm just enjoying kind of consuming all things basketball. And we'll get into that because I bought a lot of fun stuff today at my trade show related to basketball. But first, without further ado, let's get into prices. So here is a Wemby parallel out of 5 that went for $4,000. Now look, imagine being a kid, 15-year-old kid, summer job, mowing the lawn. You buy a $40 blaster plus tax $50, and you pull it out of 5 Wemby. You make you sell for $4,000. Here's a Luka refractor, 10 out of 10, going for 4 figures. This is a little LeBron James moment in time. I can't see the numbering on it. It went for $5K though, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't see it. I'm not sure if that's what color that is. Might be out of 75 or something like that. Here's one of these alter ego cards. This is the kind of shit that Topps needs to be doing to start raising the level of their inserts so they can start to kind of replicate what happened with Panini. Panini had some of the best designs. Say what you will about Panini, but like the Kaboom is a legendary card. The Downtown's a legendary card. Those will be valuable forever, and maybe even more so because they're not making that many more of them. But these are the kind of designs that I think can start to rival in desirability and in artwork the kind of design that Panini used to make. These are called the alter egos. They only made them for a handful of the players, but that went for $5,000. That's for SGA, by the way, from OKC. This is wild to me, but it is what it is, man. I'm not. I think I saw one Minions movie. It was cute, whatever. I don't know if they really belong in cards. It's cross marketing. I'm sure there's reasons for it, but it is what it is. A minion of Steph Curry sold for $20,000. So again, it could have come from a hobby, could have come from a jumbo, could have come from a mega, but it could have come from a $45 MSRP blaster box, and it's worth 20 grand. That's insane, right? I mean, come on, that's insane. That to me almost is like a non-sports card, and I say shout out to that because the non-sport card market is booming. This is another cool one. To be honest, this is not original. This is kind of like the old Panini Color Blast design, but it's a beautiful design card. And this is of Luca that sold for 25K. That's insane. Yeah, Paul says Minions for me is bizarre. Really, like, come on, it's just like, what are you doing, guys? Um, Paul is emailing me. Yeah, dude. Dude, if I get sponsored by Stewart's, that'd be the coolest thing ever. That'd be funny. And then I like players in their city. Jordan Skybox with the Sears Tower was iconic. Yeah, totally. But yeah, this is some big money stuff here. I mean, 25 grand. That's no joke. But I'm not done. Last one for now. Here's a Cooper flag out of 8. This is basically well, I guess it's not a base auto. I guess it's like purple design, but 32,000 for Cooper flag. That's sick. That's big money, man. I mean, it's not life changing money, but if you're a 15-year-old kid, you pull a Cooper flag out of 5 auto, it's definitely life changing for that, for sure. For most people, though, this is definitely life altering money. So that's the thing. I did see a couple of things. The LeBron 101 Superfractor got pulled in China, which is awesome. It's also one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on basketball cards. I think that the NBA and NBA Top Shot and NBA cards will continue to be more and more valuable because, they don't love Major League Baseball in China. They don't really care about NFL football in China. They don't care about NHL hockey in China with their billions of people, but they love NBA basketball. And by the way, this year they got Yang Hangson playing in Portland, and there's another 7-foot Asian kid playing for San Antonio. Like, the Chinese players are coming; they're awesome and they're good, and it's going to make the game even more global. You saw what Yao Ming did for the game during his rise. I mean, I think he eventually had injuries that held him back, but yeah. So that happened. And by the way, a Cooper flag alternative 1-of-1 Superfractor got pulled today. As you know, a lot of these cards, like this picture of LeBron, is like his base version, but there'll be an alternative version. So will be 2 different Superfractors, I guess, for each player. So the point is, even though some of the big stuff has been pulled, I mean, none of the rookie patch autos for the major guys like Dylan Harper, Con Knuppel, Cooper flag, all those are still available. So my point is, if you I know that in Kansas City, a lot the Walmarts and Targets and the Shields, they all got delayed their shipments, and so even though there's still some stuff at House of Sports, for some reason people haven't figured that out yet. They're emptying the shelves at all the local card shops. But wherever you live, if you can find these boxes, I would snag them up because the risk reward is just so compelling in a hobby where 99% of the time it is not compelling, and you're going to waste your money and lose your money, and you should therefore only rip wax like I do for pure entertainment value because I just love it. It's so much fun. I do it. It brings out my inner child, and it's fun. But I don't do it assuming that I could make my money back. You have to be hopeful, optimistic, and have a hopeful, optimistic mindset, but you have to be realistic too. So the point is the market for this product is off the charts. And so what happened today is this. So I did go to a local trade show today, but that's not where you buy modern wax. I went back to the baseball card store, and they have a policy where they will let you buy as much as you want, but only the first box will be sealed, and the rest of them come unsealed. So I first bought 4 there, and then I was driving home, and I'm like, I'm just curious. Let's drive by the House of Sports and see how many boxes are left over. And they had sold a ton. But yesterday was the 3rd day, and when I went there, I saw a guy with like 10 of them. I'm like, dude, I think the limit's like 2, bro. And he's like, no. The guy told me it's only 2 for the megas, 10 for the blasters. I'm like, no fucking way. Excuse my language. So I bought 10, and that's what I ripped last night. All at MSRP, $45 each. So it was expensive. And again, you do the math. I definitely didn't recoup nearly probably $200 of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see how that stuff sells, and we'll see what I trade in. And you know what? If the video goes viral and helps me get monetized eventually, it'll be totally worth it. But anyway, I go back today, and they reverted back to their inventory depleted enough now that they're back to their 2 and 2 policy. So yesterday, the first day I bought 2 from Dick's. Second day I was able to buy 10, and then today I bought 2 and 2. I bought 2 megas and then 2, but I went by the policy. So between the 4 and the 2, I added 6. So I got some more inventory to rip some more, and I'm excited about it because this is the last modern product that I'm going to rip hardcore. I am going to buy a high box, which I think will go for like $120 of the flagship football, and I'm going to include that in my Card Life Chronicles storyline. But after that, I'm going to just focus on what I already bought. I have a ton of wax to rip, and so I'll be done for now with all the chasing all the new stuff. But I just felt like with this product and this current unique situation with the rookie patch autos, it was the first time ever, and I felt like I got to go big and do it. First of all, shout out to Jordan Neal from the baseball card store. I saw him today, and I told him I should always give him a shout out before every episode because he was the reason he told me I should start ripping packs and doing pack openings online. And so I'm so glad I did because it's really helped increase my awareness to help people be aware of my books. It's sort of like with selling books. It's like that old metaphor: if a tree falls in the forest but no one hears it, did it even fall? So it's sort of like I've published 15 books, and I literally have 4 books in the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, which is insane. It blows my mind. But it doesn't really matter if they don't promote it and no one else knows about it, and I didn't sell it. Also, spent a whole career writing books that no one ever reads. So become a podcast host and becoming a guest on other shows, it was time to do it. I didn't have the time to do it before now, but now I'm making the time to do it, and I'm glad I have. And I've noticed my sales are rising now. I'm selling more books, and so it's nice. And literally, I was like at the trade show today. A couple people recognized me, and they're like, "Yeah, I read your book, or I like your podcast, dude." And the one guy asked me to be on he wanted to be a guest on my show, and so it was fun. And definitely, I'm glad I get over the hump and had the confidence to kind of just get out there and start doing this because it's been so much fun, and it's definitely helping. Anyway, speaking of trade shows, so the point is I do have enough inventory to do another Card Life Rip Sessions live with 2026. So we'll do it tonight, or maybe not because it's getting so late with this. We'll keep, we'll just maybe conclude with one box and we'll do another session another night. But I do have a lot of that. But then the point is, and which was the reason for this show today with this hobby update, I went to the Knox Pavilion Lee Summit Card Show. And so first I want to talk about the hobby in general. I know that the National and Fanatics both had record attendance, and this was record attendance. When they did their post in the morning on Facebook showing people lined up, they were lined up around this entire building. Okay, so I was like, oh screw it, I'm not gonna go first in the morning. I did other things, I did some editing and did other stuff, and I showed up at 3:00 thinking it'd be a lull, and I had to park on a hill, on the grass because you could not find parking. It was record attendance. I talked to a bunch of the vendors that I've known over the years. I started going to trade shows. The first trade show that existed in Kansas City after the pandemic ended, that was the first one I went to, and that's when I really became fanatical about the hobby again. And all the old feelings came back, and I was all into it. So there's a lot of those guys, those vendors that have known me since the very beginning, and I've given them all my books and whatever, and they said that with the record attendance, they've all made record sales today, and that's with also priced at all-time highs. But there's a couple of vendors that are all just junk, not just junk wax, all just wax. And I love that stuff. I always have. Even long before I was doing it online, I was always ripping wax as my way to enjoy the hobby. And they've been having record sales, not just today, but recent shows in Iowa and Oklahoma. Everywhere the hobby is booming, and I hope it continues. I can't help but think it's a reflection of the fact that prices are at an all-time high in Pokemon and in sports cards, and the rising tides lift all the boats, and that attracts more people to want to get into the water. So on the one hand, I'm thrilled the hobby is growing, but I am concerned for people who are not becoming collectors. I'm concerned that the investors are going to be, buying the market at an all-time high. It's kind of like buying Cisco, in 1999, buying Pets.com in the year 2000. Look, if you buy and hold, if look, I remember flipping Ken Griffey 89 Upper Deck cards as a way to do the flip life. They were 2 years ago. They were $50 each, and so I would buy them for 45. I'd sell them 55, or I would even just buy them for 50, sell them 50, just an excuse to mail out my flyers, and now that raw card's over 100, so it's doubled in the last 16 months. If I were to show you a chart of the 1986 Flair Jordan PSA 10, it's like 50x'd in the last 10 years. If you look at the price of silver, it took 40 years for silver to break $30, right? Sorry, $50. The all-time high was 50, but it was stuck at 30 for like a decade, and it finally broke 50, and then went parabolic to 120. And I'm an investor. I own silver coins. I was loving it, but I know when something goes up that much, that fast, it can't last. It has to come down, and sure enough, it did. And now silver went from 120, and now it's at 60, and it probably will go back down to 50, which was that long-term, resistance level, becomes support. So there probably is some more short-term downside in silver before it goes higher. Then it will go way higher. But you saw that Bitcoin. Look, people were buying Bitcoin look, Bitcoin was at 120,000. Now it's at 60. So if you bought Bitcoin at 20,000, then you're doing great still. But a lot of people get their faces ripped off because when it got to 100,000, that's when all the tides are up, all the boats are up. That's when everyone wants to get in. Everyone wants to get into the fever. It's gonna go higher. And then you buy it at 100 grand Bitcoin, and then for the first 2 months, you're thrilled. It's at 120. You've made 20%. You're really smart. You know what you're doing. And the tide pulls out very, very quickly. And the next thing you know, it's at 85. Then it's at 75, and then now it's been at 64 for months, and it's lost half its value. Now that's good that it's stabilized there. It's finding support. But if you look at long-term charts, I actually think that the downside could still be around 27,000 before it finds a long-term bottom. So if you buy a Jordan card, at a card show right now and you love it, or a Ted Williams or whatever it is, and you bought it at the highest price, that's okay, because the price after it pulls back, there'll be another cycle bull run inevitably, absolutely. For lots of different reasons. So, but in the short term, yeah, you might get clobbered. And so I saw like Michael Rubin was talking about market peaking at the National. Gary Vee was talking to Logan Paul about it. He even gave advice, said, look, the market can't last like this price wise, and you should find one or two of your biggest wins, not your PC that you would regret if you sold it and have seller's remorse, but one or two of your biggest wins and take some profits, sell them. I remember Professor Sports Cards did an episode. He was at the National. He bought a LeBron rookie where he's holding the jersey, and it's gone up. It went up like I forget the number, like 150%. In like a year, and he sold it and took a profit. I thought, good for you, Professor. Well done, because the goal is to buy low and sell high. And a lot of people, because of emotion, buy high. And hope it will go higher, and then a lot of times they'll sell low. Because they get scared out of their positions. And that's happening right now in Pokemon. You're seeing prices of ETBs starting to really come down. Destined Rivals, one of the more popular products that kids really want to rip. They just did a reprint. And the laws of supply and demand are alive and well. When you increase supply, price comes down. Prices have crashed in Destined Rivals. And frankly, the last 3 Pokemon releases, Pitch Black, Chaos Rising, they've been total busts. The price, if you try to scalp those, you've lost money. And that could be a lot of things. It could be because the 30th anniversary is coming up on September 16th, and everyone's saving up their cash to buy that and go big. It's going to be a really good set. Or it could be that, the non-sports card market is finally getting Bitcoined. It's finally, look at the U.S. bond market. That's rolled over too. It's finally happening. What happened to silver, it's inevitable. It'll probably happen to Pokemon. And by the way, it's definitely happening, not just ETBs. It's happening with the singles. PSA 10. Of the Bubble Mew, right, and all of the coveted Pokemon cards. Look at their prices; they're getting crushed, And human psychology never changes. Throughout all my years as an investment advisor, the two emotions that never change, the two pendulums, are fear and greed, and they constantly will swing back and forth. So as an investor, Warren Buffett would always say, you find out who's not wearing a bathing suit. The tide pulls out, and he always wants to be, fearful. When everyone's hungry, and hungry, everyone's fearful. And there's an expression called blood in the street. You want to be buying when everyone has given up on their positions. And right now, and by the way, even a lot of the YouTubers that you see, like Sports Card Dad, who I come across his stuff from time to time, and he's showing off his new Jordans that he bought at the National. I'm thinking to myself, golly, you're buying Jordan well known, the all-time high for Jordan prices. But it's not just Jordan; it's all the goats, and not just all the goats. I just saw a Carmelo Anthony card that's got a hockey stick, price. And so if you have a lot of PSA slabs, especially the tens that are sitting in your house, go pull them out of your chest and your attic, and and look up the prices, because you might be shocked that they're really crushing it right now, and it might be time to sell. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with taking profits. People always have buyer's remorse if they sell, then it goes higher. But you feel way worse if you don't sell, and then things go lower. There's an old expression on Wall Street that I use all the time, which is one in the hand is better than two in the bush. So just something to think about there. So the point is the price of the hobby card market is at an all-time high, but Pokemon's starting to roll over. It has not happened yet with sports cards. I think it is coming, and Michael Rubin, Gary Vee, and Jonathan Fink are warning and raising the concern. But as far as the health of the hobby, bigger than ever. I saw it today in Lee's Summit, and I had a blast. So let's get into what I bought today. So first, let me get a quick swig from my future sponsor, Stewart's Black Cherry, and we'll get into what I picked up today. Okay. First of all, shout out to the chat. I remember when there was 15 people here. We're now at 969. So you guys are amazing. I am grateful for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. First one, this was so random. I did not even think I would see this in the middle of Kansas. Like, what? But, I just published my book, The Hockey Gods Are Real. And you'll see from my other sports card books, hockey always plays a role in my books, and it will definitely do so again in the Card Life Volume 3. So even though in Kansas City we don't even have a pro team, but I literally worked for the Kansas City Blades in business school as an intern. I've always loved hockey. For 4 years, the New York Islanders were the best team in the NHL, and that was when I was a kid. And I went to a ton of Islander games, and I remember sleepovers with friends watching Islander games. And so if you are a New York Rangers fan, which I'm betting Paulie is if he's watching still, you'll forgive me. I am an Islanders fan through and through. And by the way, if you ever noticed, the Islanders and the Mets and the Knicks all have the same color scheme, right? White, orange, and blue. But if you're a Rangers fan, the greatest nemesis to the Rangers, to that awesome rivalry with the Islanders and the Rangers in the 80s, they would chant, "Pot Vin sucks. Pot Vin sucks." So for $20, I bought an on-card auto of Potvin Sucks. Dennis Potvin, one of the greatest defensive hockey players of all time. I've never been a big fan of autos. I can care less. He signed it. I know the hobby is enamored with on-card autos and stuff like that. I've come around to appreciate them more as I've been in the hobby now, so hardcore over the years. And this is a particularly sick auto. Look at that auto on there. I think it was a blue Sharpie, but just totally sick. And for $20, one of my absolute hockey heroes. This is absolute PC. I don't know where it's going to go yet. It's going to go somewhere awesome where I can look at it every day. So, yeah. So, Dennis Potvin, yeah. Shout out to you. By the way, this is totally random, but let me just promote my show real quick. My flagship show, Sports Card Collectors Club. It's wild. My daughter, she graduated from George Washington University. She's working for Fox News. She's a booker for one of the morning shows on Fox. And so she's in charge of getting all the guests, And I never thought that a few months later I would have my own podcast and have to book people for my show. And I'm a booker too. So I'm following in my daughter's footsteps. And I've had a lot of fun kind of being a curator and figuring out who's going to be on my show and what the show's going to be like for season 1 versus season 2, and it's been a lot of fun. And Paulie's been so awesome with helping me and bringing me ideas, and it's been awesome. And he, of course, was one of my guests, and he was fabulous. Well, anyway, I've watched this hobby grow, and it doesn't need any help. But there's been a big term called 10x the hobby. Michael Rubin, CEO of Fanatics, mentioned that at a conference once. He wanted to 10x the hobby. Now, I'm not sure if he's referring to 10xing their Fanatics profits, right? Or actually growing the hobby by 10x, but it's probably one and the same. It's both. And the hobby has been growing. He said in the recent interview with SportsCon Nonsense at the National that he thinks he's 3 to 5x it so far, and since they bought the license of Topps from Fanatics did. Look, we'll see. They've definitely have grown the hobby. First, internationally, it's growing absolutely. It's growing with like things like Fanatics Fest. It's growing definitely with high-profile athletes getting involved in the hobby. More card shops are opening. We're seeing big box card shops like Tom Brady Card Vault and Card HQ expanding. So it's growing in every which way. But one of the ways that I think it's going to grow, with Fanatics Fest, the idea was converting sports fans into card collectors, and that's definitely happening. And there's a huge opportunity just converting traditional sports fans into collecting fans, right? But a big silver lining that I think it's not been missed. They did a feature symposium on it this year at the National. So far, I've had Kayla Collects on my show, and she was on this symposium talking about women in the hobby. Look, first of all, the hobby used to be for a bunch of nerds and geeks. It wasn't for the cool kids. Now everyone loves cards, and so just right there, the hobby has grown tremendously. But it's basically been a male-dominated hobby. And a lot of girls have not felt comfortable coming to all these male-dominated shows, and that has definitely changed. And people like Kayla Collects are vanguards in that. And I discovered Kayla after she was on the Topps network, and then there was someone else called Michaela Bear, and she is a hardcore super collector. She'll be on my show next. So next Tuesday is the Rip Session. That's my community. DM me. I'll send you a link. We all got to rip packs together. Then the next Tuesday is Michaela Bear. And she is a Cleveland Indians fan, and she super collects certain players like Stephen Kwan. But even more than that, she collects everything that's red. And so now I'm hyper aware. So as I'm going through my cards, I'm figuring out what to flip, what to give away for free, what to put in a shoebox for the baseball card store to trade in. I come across so many cards where it's sort of like the red card beetle thing. Like when you're driving around, you don't notice it until you play that punch game where they punch you in the arm every time you see a beetle, or red card, and you see red cards everywhere. Well, her fascination is red cards. So I just mailed her a couple of signed books, but I'm going to mail her a package again because I mailed. These are all the red cards that I have found since I booked her interview. And so I'm going to start the interview with her by showing her off my pink collection. This one's even numbered, Jeter down out of 199. Sebastian Walcott, and then Joe Montana, and then of course her favorite player, Stephen Kwan. So just a little side note there. Shout out to Michaela. She's going to be an awesome guest on my show. Okay, so that first pickup was Dennis Potvin, New York Islanders on-cut auto, totally random. Okay. Next, basketball. Now, I don't want to give away too much of the storylines that run through Volume 3 of the Card Life, but obviously basketball will play a role because it just so happens that for my nonfiction series, God is Real, I've already done baseball, I've done football, I've done hockey, I've done golf. And I've been deciding I already written manuscripts for basketball and soccer. I was just trying to figure out which one to do. Then the basketball guys totally got a hold of me. Thanks to Paulie, I went to the NBA Summer League events, and that just got me so into basketball again. And then with my Card Life Chronicles series, because I've been editing now the Basketball Gods Are Real, I've wanted to have a lot of basketball cards. A, because I want to be able to have them out at my shows, and also because I want to be able to flip them on eBay and then promote the book. So I've been going hardcore buying all kinds of basketball, especially stuff from the 90s, full high boxes of Topps 92, 93, because literally in high school, this is before the internet, right? I was in a fantasy basketball league for my 4 years of high school, and we literally did everything by hand. I was watching every Knicks game, even the New Jersey Nets, Atlanta Hawks, whatever was on TV, I was always in on it. And I was so passionate about it. And even though I wasn't really great at basketball myself because I was short, and I was better at other sports, the NBA in the 90s, I was obsessed with it. And so I looked to the junk wax stuff I love, and I particularly love ripping the cards that I didn't get to rip because I gave up the hobby in '88. So all that early '90s basketball stuff has been a blast. But then I realized let's keep going back, and so I realized I didn't rip basketball during the pandemic, right? Because I was busy writing books. So I have a bunch of that stuff too. And then that brings me to this. I found two of these what a deal. For 20 bucks, Luka on the cover. And so this will be, I'll do a rip session, Car Life Chronicles rip session of just NBA basketball. And this will be, eventually will be part of a chapter in volume 3. And then I did rip a bunch of Prism NBA basketball when it first came out, but it was before I had my pack opening series. It was before I was kind of reactivated with my Basketball Guides Are Real series. And it was before, NBA Top Shot and before my Lost Franchise NBA 2K series. But I picked up 4 of these. And this is a really good price. 25 bucks. I think these retailed for 30 or 35 for a very, very long time. And then they actually sat on the shelves for a very long time, especially after Topps came out with their products. But now you don't see them anymore. And actually, I really wanted to rip some of this stuff, some of this NBA Prism. So for 25 bucks each, 4 of them. So that's pretty good. Oh, by the way, this is wild. You can see here, $30. So this was $30, and today they were down to 20 bucks. So at a time when junk prices of boxes keep rising, it doesn't have to be that way. You can go on to eBay and you can find junk wax. You can buy a full high box of 36 packs of 88 tops and have a field day ripping that stuff and have a lot of fun for super cheap. And you can go to local card shows, and you can find deals like this. You just gotta be patient and willing to go find them. So anyway, I'm super excited. As you know, I'm loving ripping Topps Chrome Update, but I'm just all in on basketball right now, and I will be for the next many months and years ahead. So for right now, these are the first. This was kind of the stuff that I went thinking that I would buy. So I'm glad I picked this stuff up. But I'm not done. You go to these trade shows, you just never know what you're gonna see. And today, I found a lot of packs, and I love packs. You guys know I'm a pack rat for my pack opening series. And I mentioned earlier that I love the 90s. And when it comes to the high boxes, they're in short supply. They're really, really expensive on eBay. They're hard to find. So first, I found for $2 each the inaugural edition of Skybox. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. And the Skybox design is very, very weird. It's like Photoshop before Photoshop's time. They're not like action shots like Topps, but they're actually really cool cards. They're not really viable in the market yet. Like the Jordan card, I don't think goes for that much, but that might change. I think that they're pretty really cool cards. Speaking of which, now of course price is way different. $4 a pack, and I bought 4 of them. 4 is obviously my favorite number. These are 1991-92 Upper Deck NBA. So that's a fun one. Now, these are the kind of thing where I might rip them all together in a rip session, like a junk wax rip session as an episode, or like on Tuesday night, if we're doing the rip session episode. I know a lot of the people that will join the episode are probably like the NBA Top Shot crew, so they'll appreciate it if I rip some NBA basketball. So that's what I'll probably do. Not done with that though, and then also $4 NBA hoops, and we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, two groups of 4. So I'm really excited to rip this stuff. So this is the kind of stuff where like only at a trade show would you find that kind of stuff. Okay, next. All right, let's do a quick break. We're gonna rip a pack of V Friends. This is not a paid advertisement. I'm not being paid by V Friends. I just literally love the product. Grateful Gar, Well Connected Werewolf, Confident Cobra Yellow Refractor, Offensive Oriented Orangutan, entirely focused on their next move and spends no energy worrying about what others are doing. Hell yeah. Always good wisdom from V Friends. Okay, next. Okay. This is a fun one for me. In Volume 1 of the Sports Card Collectors Club, if you've read it, you'll know this. If you have not read it, you'll check it out. The first half of the book is every chapter is like a different investment chapter, like the modern hobby. It's all about making money and investing in cards and stuff like that. So I have a chapter like how would Warren Buffett, buy sports cards? How would a hedge fund do it? How would a private equity fund do it? How would a day trader do it, etc. Right? Then, of course, the pivotal part in the storyline is I'm watching the Royals game one night and there's a rain delay. And after like the first 30 minutes, they'll chit chat about the game. Then they need to find programming to put on when it's like a prolonged delay. And one of the go-to shows for most networks in sports, they put on the TV show called The Card Life, produced by Brandon Virgil. It's hosted by Matt Strom, who's a pitcher in the MLB, and he's a hardcore. He's the OG. He's the first real MLB player who became well known for his love of sports cards. And he had his own show called Stadium Rips, where during the pandemic he would rip packs sitting in empty stadiums, and then he became the host of this show. And like you'll be in Vegas walking at 2 a.m, you'll see the show on TV. It's syndicated. It's on everywhere. So I'm watching The Card Life, and the segment comes on where Matt is always doing a rip session, and I'm watching him rip cards, and I was like, you know what, I got this all wrong. I definitely had a lot of fun writing the book and investing, being an investment, hobbyist, instead of a collector, being an investor. But I felt like something was missing. And after watching Matt rip packs, I'm like, you know what? That's what's missing, is the joy that I felt when I was a kid when I ripped packs. I loved, some would say it's just dopamine hit, which is true. But I just love the excitement. I love the mystery. I love how each card's a sacred relic with history in it. I love it. So after watching him rip packs, I finished the episode. I'm like, you know what? I'm done investing in sports cards. Now I'm going to become a collector. And the rest of the book is about collecting. And it's about the cards that I collected, and then I have a chapter about set building. And of course, if you're going to build a set, you can build lots of different sets, but I picked one that was maybe cliche, but for me, it was, given my history and my love for basketball from when I was a kid in high school, I wanted to build the 1986 Flair NBA set. It's a legendary set. Everyone knows that Topps and Flair, dealt with licensing, and there were not NBA cards made for many, many years. And so in '86, when Flair came out with the NBA set, it was the first time they had made cards in like a decade. So even though it wasn't Michael Jordan's rookie year, that was actually technically in '84, everyone considers his '86 Flair card his official rookie card. Now some are saying his '84 Star card is the first official rookie card, but whatever. But there's, I think, 8 or 9 other players, Karl Malone, Dominique Wilkins, Chris Mullin, Charles Oakley. All those guys are rookies, and so this is like the most coveted set, and it's actually only 200 players. Remember, it's when the NBA was much smaller. There's very few teams, so I set out. At least I started to build that set, and I think when I finished the book, I have to have it right here. And let me check real quick something. Chapter 58, the set builder. Hold on, watch this. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it to you. Okay, but in the book, I talk about the beginning of the set building. So I will read this one paragraph. The first card in my 1986-87 Flair NBA set was the player who was drafted notoriously ahead of Michael Jordan, Sam Bowie, from the Portland Trail Blazers. After that, I bought a card from one of my favorite players when I was a kid, Wayne Tree Rollins. By the way, side note, when I started playing with the NBA 2K series, the Lost Franchises, I'm starting from the very beginning, like in 83, with the Kings. The Kings were terrible in 83. It's why they eventually moved to Sacramento, because no one came to the games because they were so bad. But you have all the draft picks. And so, yeah, I could try to trade up and get Jordan next year, but I'd rather trade all my draft picks and liquidate my roster and build a starting 5 or at least a 7-player rotation of guys that I love. So the first guy I signed was Dominique Wilkins. He was my favorite player as a kid. And my second guy was Wayne Tree Rollins, because he played for the Hawks, and I watched the Hawks play a lot with Dominique, and he was a defensive monster, 7'1", and he was just a beast. And he's been so good in my franchise so far. In fact, I think him and Dominique will both make the All-Star team in the sim. We'll see. Anyway, I next bought each of the following basketball cards for $1 each, plus $1.12 for shipping. By the way, inflation, now that stamp costs $1.32. And it's been 2 years, so it's gone up a good percentage. I bought Cliff Robinson, Gerald Henderson, Al Wood, Norm Nixon, Calvin Nat, Dan Shays, Larry Smith, and Herb Williams. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So I bought 9 cards. All right, check this out. So this is how far I've gotten so far. I put them in order. Okay. There's a reason why I'm getting to. It's storytelling, man. You got to build it. You got to build it slow. You got to build it up. You got to really. So I started with 9. There's 200. So here's where I am so far. Michael Thompson, Calvin Nat, who I mentioned in the book. He's one of the original 9, core 9. Rodney McRae, Thurr Bailey. Look at these jerseys for the Cavs. They're styling. Melvin Turpin, the orange, right? Maurice Lucas. Dan Roundfield. Look at those Washington. Sorry, I forget if they're the Baltimore Bullets or the Washington Bullets in '86, but those jerseys are sweet. Purvis Short. Herb Williams. Vern Fleming. Sedale Threet. Al Wood, rest in peace, Seattle Sonics. Gus Williams. Wow, Kansas City Kings. My woulda, coulda, shoulda team. Reggie Theus. I bought a Kansas City Kings jersey. I wore it in my first episode for Rip Sessions. I don't have a powder blue one. I got to get one. Those are sharp. Larry Smith. Phil Hubbard. Thurr Bailey. Wait, did I get a Thurr Bailey already? Yeah, I have 2 Thurr Bailey. And I have 2 Phil Hubbard. That's just like, not carelessness. Sometimes I'll bid on a couple at the same time, and you wind up winning both when you didn't think that was going to happen. Gerald Henderson, rest in peace, Seattle Sonics. Frank Johnson. Albert King, and shout out to those New Jersey Net uniforms. Those were sick. I think that's kind of a shout out to the former ABA team, the New Jersey Americans, I believe. Norm Nixon with the Clippers, formerly the San Diego Clippers before they moved. Dan Shays, I love that yellow knee pad there on his right knee. All right, now we're starting to increase in the star power. I got a Vinnie Johnson. Those really good Detroit Piston teams. Otis Birdsong. Doc Rivers, now a big-time coach. Actually, shout out to those Hawk jerseys, too. Those are pretty sweet. Mentioned in the book, my first card in my collection. So this is maybe my most special one. And it is wild because this guy is so shamed by being picked before Michael Jordan and then being basically a bust his whole career. I remember him when he played for the Nets and he was a bust. But do you know he's not even in? He didn't give his rights. Him and Charles Barkley, the only two players who didn't give their rights to NBA 2K to be in the game. Was that wild? Why would he do that? I thought he was good. I think he had a good career. Sam Bowie, Cliff Robinson. Ooh, the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel. Rest in peace, Kansas City Kings, Eddie Johnson. Oh, this is the third player that I have two of. I probably should to find out which one's better quality and sell off the other ones. Another Kansas City King, Mike Woodson. Ooh, when you think about those Boston, you think of like Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, but there were these role players like Dennis Johnson who were so good. He's like the Josh Hart of the Knicks, like a guy like Dennis Johnson. This guy's pretty good. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Look at that centering. Holy franchise. How bad is that? I forget when I got this one, I was so excited that it was Kareem. I probably didn't focus on how bad. That's one of the worst centering I've ever seen. Look at that. Is that disgusting? It's awesome, though. It's like so bad. Like, can you imagine being a manufacturer of sporting cards and this is the product you put out with this kind of centering? What the hell? This centering is still not a 10, not even close, but it's better than that one. Special player, Magic Johnson. This centering is even better than that one, but still not a 10. But what a player this guy was. Isaiah Thomas. Now this one I'm going to take out of this set, and I'm creating a PC for all the players that I'm using in the NBA 2K Lost Franchises Dynasty that I'm playing. So, and I forgot I had this card. I had the Dominique one already taken out. So that one's separate. I'll get that in a minute. But this one now goes with that one. It's Wayne Tree Rollins. I forgot I had this one. The centering is actually pretty decent, but still not going to be a 10. But one of my favorite players growing up, Dr. J, Julius Irving. Always respected this guy. I felt like Larry Bird got all the credit, but no one hustled, in my opinion, more than Kevin McHale. He was terrific. This one's out of order. Last one, Buck Williams. He's not the best card. It's debatable. And by the way, one more, of course, we got to show you real quick. You know what? It's a hobby update. Might as well do it. Let me show you my PC. Of course, the last card I wanted to show you from my set. I think if you add up all the cards, I think I'm at like 42. So I'm not even halfway there yet. I have a lot of players to go. It's gonna take a while, which I'll get into in a second. Here, of course, is Dominique, my favorite player as a kid. And these are all the cards so far that I've bought since starting building the PC for the Lost Franchises. What's amazing is this auto is beautiful on card. I think I bought this for like less than $5. Dominic Wilkins, my favorite player as a kid. And by the way, he's going to be MVP of my sim. He's been so good. I've been using him like Magic Johnson. I've been using it as my point guard. Now this is Spud Webb. Hey, shout out to Paulie. He just sent me, I think, a Spud Webb moment on NBA Top Shot. This one I pulled, and it's in my PC just because it's the Kansas City Kings logo. Just like this one, Walt Williams, the Kings. Wayne Tisdale, no logo, but it's the Kings. Dominic Wilkins, All-Star. Dominic Wilkins, Team USA. And I finally figured out how to dunk. I mean, I've known how to do it, but I always seem to like not get my finger on the trigger, and I just keep doing layups. Last couple games, I've been dunking it with Dominique. It's been fun. And here's a really cool card with Wayne the Tree Rollins. And actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to now take the Wayne Tree card. And I'm going to put it in glass and keep it with my my Lost Franchise PC. Yeah, I mean, this is an expensive set build, the 86 Flair, but the Lost Franchises, each of these cards has cost me like $1. So it doesn't have the hobby doesn't have to be expensive to enjoy it. You can enjoy this hobby in so many different ways, and sometimes even more gratifying when you're not. It's not about the expensive card, just about the cards that you love. Okay, which brings me to a very long intro. As I was finally walking through the place, and I was heading out, and in the last row, I found some guy with all this vintage, and he had a huge stack of 86 Flair. So I didn't want to go totally berserk because some of these cards were like over $100. So I kind of went like low key, and I thankfully didn't screw up and buy any duplicates that I've already had. But for $10, I bought Derek Smith today. For $10, I bought Sidney Moncrief. $10, I bought Dave Greenwood. Rest in peace, Seattle Supersonics. I bought $10, Jack Sigma. Oh, that's right. Hold on. Oh my God. $15, Craig Hodges, and I was willing to pay $5 extra because he's also on my Kansas City Kings team. He's my sixth man. This is going to go into glass too, and then Jim Paxton. So now my set building has really come a long way, and in the chapter that I'm going to write about the update on the set build, I have a little surprise that will be coming up, and the hint is that it will involve the Card Life Chronicles podcast. So you will get to see everything that I do with writing that book and the cards and packs that I open, all that stuff. It'll all be done here with you live. Okay, one more thing to do, but let's sort of rip it on the pack first. So in the book, The Card Life, Volume 3, I'm building a set called the Timeline Collection. Here's the Hot Shot Hornet. You're Gonna Die Fly. Tremendous Tiger, Yellow Refractor. Articulate Armadillo, competitive advantage. Has a powerful voice and uses it for spreading good. Very nice. Oh, let me give you a sneak preview. These are the cards that by the way, every time I post a video of my sim on the NBA 2K, I'll like do a GIF or a thumbnail graphic, or I'll show one of the new cards I'm adding to the collection. And so these have not debuted yet, so you're seeing a sneak peek. I bought this Mike Dunleavy. I actually acquired him after Game 1 as a free agent, and he's been my point guard coming off the bench. Another Dominic Wilkins, an All-Star card. And then this one was one of the originals I pulled. I just haven't had a chance to debut it yet. Another Anthony Bonner, Kansas City Kings card. Okay. Okay, so the idea of the Timeline Collection was that if you've noticed, like I have, I mean, the card designs of modern wax, it's nothing special. And if you look at some of the designs that like up here, like 1959 Topps or 53 Bowman, the designs are incredible, and the coloring and all that stuff. And so I actually have a vintage collection, and I've been adding to it, and I'm going to write about that in a chapter. But this particular thing is about capturing, showcasing one card from every year of Topps baseball, from the modern times all the way back to the very, very beginning. But to make it fun, I acquire packs from those years. Some of them are hard to get, so a lot of them are these they're repacks of rack packs. So it's the real cards, but they're repackaged, but still gonna be good enough. And the idea is that when I pull a 1963 pack, the best card that I like will be featured in the set. Where in my basement there's in all the windows around the room, I can display each card from every year, and I have packs for a lot of those years. And the best card from that pack I'll display, and then whenever I find a better card that's worth more, I like more, I'll then replace it and add it to the collection and take that one away. But there are a couple of years that I know that I don't have packs for, and I have to kind of fill those in eventually. It doesn't have to be done by the time the book is done, but I want to do it over time. And so anyway, I found a few of those cards today. I found this vintage guy who had all these different years of cards, and for me personally, I don't care about the player. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on these. I do care about the team. I love the obscure teams that are not around anymore. I have a fascination with that for some reason. I'm doing it with my Lost franchise stuff, but if you notice in my book series, the Republic Baseball League, all the teams, especially in Volume 1 and then eventually Volume 2, they're all the teams that are gone. It's the old independent teams. It's the old Federal League teams. And so, for example, here, this is a 1963 Topps card with the Houston Colt 45s. Can you see that team name? So I love this because this is it's part of American history. This is a team that doesn't exist anymore. That's exactly the kind of team that would eventually, would and should join the Republic Baseball League. If you read that book series that I wrote, that's what this is all about. These old teams kind of reincarnate and come back to life. So I just think this is a cool card, a cool design. It'll definitely be the first card to represent 1963 in my timeline collection. So this one's tongue-in-cheek. That was $3, by the way. This one's a $2 card. This is 1961 Topps. I think I might... No, I don't think I have any. I thought I did once, but I like this one because it's the Cleveland Indians. We now know that today it's called the Cleveland Guardians. So this is a piece of history, right? And so this is before our society was all woke. But anyway, yeah, so I think this is pretty sweet, and I wanted to capture that. $2, but it'll definitely go perfectly in my timeline collection. On this one, I'm trying to figure out the year. It might be 1957 or 56, but you'll notice it's the Washington Senators. Again, another team that no longer exists. $3, but it's perfect. I'm not a big fan of the horizontal cards, but just love the card design. The logo, the yellow and the white on the name. It's just sweet. And the last one, this was the one that was the oldest. This was the most expensive one. This one cost me $10. The design on the back is just beautiful. Again, I forget the year. So what does it say? It might be 1961, but it's the Philadelphia Athletics. Of course, they eventually moved to Kansas City and became the Kansas City Athletics. And then that team struggled and didn't make enough money, so they moved to California and became the Oakland Athletics, who are now moving to Las Vegas, and they'll be called the Las Vegas Athletics. And for those of you who are familiar with my book series, The Republic Baseball League, you might not know that in Volume 3, which is out now, a big part of the pivotal storyline changes when, based on, it's loosely based on history, the Oakland A's wanted to move to Oakland. They wanted to play temporarily in Utah, and then the league said no, and they got all upset, and then they couldn't get their building set up, and they decided to move back to Oakland and move back into Oakland Coliseum, and then join the RBL. And then basically there's a secession. All the major league teams eventually join, and the two leagues merge. And it's all because of the Oakland A's. So this is a special card as well. So yeah, so these three cards are great because it's not about the player, it's about the team and what it represents. And I just I collect what I love, and I love baseball history, and that's why I write about that stuff. And I love how I love writing about the plight of the disenfranchised players and the different disenfranchised baseball teams that, for different reasons, no longer are around. So that is, I think, a good time to wrap it up. We've been going; it'll be almost 2 hours. So let's end it with a couple of pack rips. Let's rip some junk wax basketball, and we'll wrap it up at 2 hours. So here we go. Let's start with a skybox. This one cost me $2. Money well spent. Bill Fitch. I do think it's cool that there's coach cards, but yeah. Is this David Robinson's rookie card? It might be. I'm not sure. Walter Davis. Paul Westhead. Charles Jones. I mean, look at this design. Look at the graphics on the ball itself. It's so awesome. John Stockton, one of the greatest passers of all time. They even have team cards. The Bullets. I pulled a Knicks one. I gave it to Paulie as a gift in Vegas. Sam Vincent, the Orlando Magic. Speaking of the Knicks, we got Gerald Wilkins. Rodney McRae, James Edwards, Bill Cartwright, Greg Kite, Terry Porter, and Terry Teagle. My favorite card from that rip is the David Robinson card. All right, let's do one more. Let's do NBA hoops, $4. Yeah, 990 people in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. Ooh, right off the bat. Whoa, okay, synchronicity. Did I not just say, is this the David Robinson rookie card? Now, again, I'm not certain that it is or not. Do you guys know? I think it is, but Skybox doesn't have a rookie designation. But then look at this. That's the kind of synchronicity that you're like, wow, sports card gods are real. David Robinson rookie card. What? And I just mentioned that I thought the last one was, so amazing. Anyway, Isaiah Thomas, not his rookie card. Look at how many years he's played. Reggie Miller, he's a great announcer, and I'll never forget, he was such a great rival for the Yankees, with the Knicks, and he'd always be like, I remember his famous choke. So I always respected Reggie Miller. He was a clutch player. He put the dagger in Knicks fans' hearts many times. Sam Perkins, I love this design. I love the photography. Terry Catledge. Back-to-back Terrys. Terry Teagle. Darryl Griffith. John Begley. Rest in peace, Seattle Supersonics. Nate McMillan. Oh, a new card for the PC for the Lost Franchises. Vinny Del Negro. Oh, wait. It's the Sacramento Kings. This is after they've moved but didn't change the logo yet. So that one's not going PC. That's got to be KC. We got Ron Anderson. And then, are you kidding me? The sports card gods are whispering tonight. David Robinson with the All-Star rookie card. David Robinson hat trick. I got to get David Robinson on my Lost Franchises team, right? Look at this. This is a sign from the basketball gods for sure. Johnny Moore. And then this is just an anomaly. What a pack. David Robinson rookie card, and then Jeff Martin rookie card, and Michael Ainsley rookie card. So that was pretty good. So anyway, this has been a Card Life Chronicles hobby update. We covered Professor Sports Cards, We talked about my last 2 rip sessions. We focused on all the great pulls we had. We did a market update about market prices, did a hobby update on the community and where the community's at. I showed you all my pickups from today's card show and Lee Summit, and then we did a few rips. So real quick, heads up, tomorrow night I am a guest on the Collecting and Connecting Network show, the High Hard one, which is also on YouTube and on Buzzer. And we're going to talk collective bargain agreement. We're going to talk Major League playoffs and the playoff hunt and the wild card race. That's going to be a lot of fun with Jay Destiny and the whole crew. And then this coming Tuesday, 9 o'clock. Now, I need guests. If it's just me showing up at the rip sessions, it'd be like sitting at a card shop by myself. And so if no one shows up, we'll cancel the show. It's not going to be very compelling. We need a few guests. The software allows up to have up to 10 people, 9 including me. So let's try to get like 4 or 5 people on the show on Tuesday night. I'll put out some advertisements, but just send me a DM. I'll send you the link. It's the rip sessions with the Card Life Chronicles, and we're going to basically hang out and rip cards together and just kind of enjoy the community and enjoy the chat and have some fun ripping wax. So this was an impromptu hobby update, but we went 2 hours long. We almost reached 1,000 viewers, 991 souls. God bless each and every one of you. I thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm just glad that you guys love this hobby as much as I do. You guys take care. And as always, God bless.
He pulled a stain from a shoebox lid. Said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight with a pack in hand and a story that bites. Old paper, new spark, name on the card. From basement deals to a full-on star. Collected and connected, collected and connected, trading the truth.